We got a couple of things to go over that occurred on the weekend, so let's just jump into it. So last week we got the announcement of the new PlayStation Plus memberships, and pretty much I think there's a main consensus out there that this in no way is really going to be able to compete fully with Xbox Game Pass, at least in the terms of the value of content you're getting, because it won't have those first party PlayStation games in the service on day one. But we got some more information of the type of stuff you can expect with the new memberships. So Jim Ryan was talking with the official PlayStation podcast and was asked if he can name the types of games and some of the games that are going to be available on the service. And here's what he said: I'm going to play a little hard to get on that one, but I can tell you free that we have massive publisher participation in this program. We have all of the big names present. And I'm assuming he is referring to both first party and third party with that statement. So all of the big publishers that you see publishing their games onto Xbox Game Pass, I'm assuming are going to be participating as well with PlayStation Plus, which will be very interesting to see that dynamic. How are they going to make the decision in certain months where they're going to want to put their games? And I think a big part of that will just be the metrics and the numbers that both Xbox and PlayStation provide to these publishers in terms of interaction and engagement. As of right now, it seems like Xbox Game Pass is definitely the first surefire bet for these publishers because there is more engagement, they have more subscribers, they've put out all of the numbers about the amount of games people play, how they discover new games, all that type of stuff. So once PlayStation Plus finally gets that rebranding, PlayStation is going to have to take a couple of months to kind of get all of those statistics for their engagement and then distribute that to the different publishers out there. He went on to say here as well that the service won't simply focus on larger titles, but a wider selection of developers. And that's kind of following again the footsteps of Xbox Game Pass, because you look at the monthly release for Game Pass games, you usually have one, maybe two games from the big name publisher, the big name developer, and then you have a bunch of other smaller indie games, which, I mean, there's tons of amazing indie games that have come out onto this service, but they really focus their energy across a variety of different publishers and developers. His exact quote was, "We have big publishers, we have small indie publishers, we have over 200 partners working with us to put their content into PlayStation Plus, so the lineup is going to be really strong." Again, the indie stuff, working with indie developers as well, the big publishers, very similar to Xbox Game Pass does. In terms of the first party games, though, we already know some of the first party games that will be available when the service releases. So God of War, the 2018 version, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, and Returnal. And Returnal is going to be on there. The game's only been out for a year, so this could potentially imply that a year after the first party PlayStation games come out, they may consider putting them on to the service. And then he doubles down at the end talking about how they aren't going to be putting their first party games day and date, saying this is not the road that we've gone down in the past, and it's not a road that we're going to go down with this new service. In my opinion on that, I've been pretty vocal on that based off of my videos and on my podcast this past weekend. I just think he's pretty much lying to the customers because he knows he's going to be able to double dip on the rabid PlayStation fans that are going to get the highest tier and then go out and spend the $70 or whatever they price their first party games at when they come out, and pay full price and probably digitally through the store so they get to keep all the profits. But this competition, I know a lot of people say that it isn't a competition because the first party Xbox games are on Game Pass on day one and PlayStation isn't doing that, but it's still a competitor. So it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out further down the line and how these new PlayStation Plus tiers and memberships are going to shape the landscape of the subscription service, if it really will have a big effect on the numbers we're seeing right now with Game Pass and Xbox pretty much dominating the service side of things. And continuing here, speaking of Jim Ryan, he also commented on further mergers and acquisitions. So here's what he says: "We're in a really good place with PlayStation Studios and have been for the past few years. The critical success and the commercial success of the games that they've been making, that has given us permission to invest heavily in content creation. We're growing our studios organically and we're growing through acquisition. We acquired 5 studios during the course of 2021. We're in discussion with Bungie and we have more planned. This is getting us into a virtuous cycle where success begets success." And I find this quote hilarious because you think about PlayStation's motto just a couple of years ago. It seems like they've really kind of backtracked and changed a lot of the stuff that they said that they were doing. with believing in generations to growing organically, as they have gone out in 2021 and purchased a bunch of different studios. And even with their most recent purchase of Haven, which is a studio that has absolutely no track record of really producing anything for PlayStation, but they just went ahead and made that purchase, even though previously they were working on a game that would be exclusive for PlayStation, but it was their first game, so you don't really know what's going to come out of that. We even look back here in 2020 when he had this interview, and he was talking about the difference between acquisitions and organic growth. And he says here, it's probably not widely appreciated or understood to what extent that we have grown our own game development capability organically over the course of the generation. Obviously, it's been helped by the acquisition of Insomniac, and it's wonderful to have them as a part of a team. That is the fruit of not massive spending sprees, but a very, very steadily, carefully planned organic growth. We are lucky enough to have 5 or 6 studios who fall into that category, but it isn't luck because we've been working on this for years and years. Very quietly, in a very PlayStation way, we've been building something quite special with these studios. You can do it with frenzied acquisition or measured acquisition, or you can do it organically. So based off of that quote in 2020, they are definitely going more along the lines of measured acquisition or frenzied acquisitions, I guess, depending on how you look at it, depending on what they're going to be doing in the future. There have been lots of rumors popping up about PlayStation making a big acquisition, one of them being From Software, which would make sense because From Software has worked with PlayStation exclusively in the past. I'm sure they have a great relationship, but I think it would have made more sense maybe a year ago or a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, because right now you look at From Software, you look at Elden Ring, one of the most popular games ever. From Software, in terms of price from a business perspective, is worth more than it ever was. And that Elden Ring success has really pushed it up probably so much more than if they would have just bought the studio a year ago or even before that. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't really think buying From Software today, right now, makes any sense whatsoever, again, from a business perspective, but it will be interesting to see if they do drop some big news about purchasing a major studio in the future. So it looks like we got some more leaks about the upcoming World of Warcraft expansion. Now, there was leaks earlier kind of giving us insight as to what can be expected from this game, and it's a big update. They're going to be announcing it, I believe, on April 19th. And with that announcement, they're going to have to really try to get people back into the game, because a lot of people left World of Warcraft and went over to Final Fantasy 14. However, apparently this last expansion started off bad, but it's better now, which will make it good for people who are playing it. But for people who left, they're probably not going to come back and check it out, especially if they were really into Final Fantasy 14 after leaving. But here's the leak that we got right now. It says here, an update to Blizzard's website spotted on Reddit may have accidentally revealed the next expansion dubbed Dragonflight in the source code. And it is in line with the previous rumors that the game is going to be set in Azeroth's mysterious Dragon Isles. The Dragon Flights of Azeroth were empowered to steward the mortal races and look after the natural order, but have been sidelined in recent times as player factions grew in power and in fighting between different flights threatened their very existence. That's what this expansion is going to be all about. And it looks like there will most likely be a new race or a new class, or even potentially both, because in the previous expansion, it was the first expansion that didn't have a new race or a new class. Now, on top of the leak of the name and the setting and all that type of stuff that we saw from the code, there was also this leak, which is the actual logo of the upcoming expansion to World of Warcraft. So you can pretty much bet on April 19th, this is what they are going to be announcing. Now, this is exciting stuff for a couple of reasons. I mean, World of Warcraft, such a popular MMO, has really fallen off over the last little while. I would like to see it rise back to the prominent MMO out there. I played it way back in the day and always have thought maybe one day I will jump back in, just waiting for the right time. And if this is something that's enticing, hey, maybe this is the right time. We know that it's coming over to Xbox as a first-party game with the acquisition of Activision Blizzard once that gets completed. And the whole thing with World of Warcraft is I'm excited to see what Xbox is going to do with the franchise. Are they going to improve it? Are they going to make a brand new game? Are they going to put it on console? All that type of stuff. And when it comes to the Activision Blizzard acquisition, we may also have a little bit more of hints of some of the stuff we can expect going forward coming into Xbox Game Pass, as this here was spotted on the Xbox store. Now, this is nothing really abnormal or unusual. Xbox does this all the time. They always have games within Game Pass deals, but this, you know, with everything going on, can give us kind of a hint of maybe these are games that we are going to be getting right away when Xbox acquires Activision Blizzard. So these games here are showing up in the deal section: Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Diablo 2 Resurrected, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. So just 4, I think, really big games that people will be very excited if Xbox came out and said, hey, these are all going to be into Game Pass starting today. So it's exciting to think about the future of what's going to happen once this deal goes through. And generally you see this with Game Pass. I mean, I see it a lot. You kind of can make that connection when they put a game on deep disc and they put a game on sale. At some point later, it usually comes into Game Pass because they're kind of trying to capitalize on those last minute sales, those sales just before they launch it into the service for people who, hey, maybe would like to own it rather than just have it on the subscription service, and they'll be able to buy it right then at a great price. So like I said, very excited to see what happens when the acquisition goes through, as long as nothing gets held up. We know we saw this on Friday with the senators saying that they need to scrutinize this merger. I talked about this on my podcast. It was actually the first time I looked at this, and I read through the entire letter that they wrote for why the deal needs to be scrutinized. And my final conclusion from reading that letter is these people really have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, because the letter just really made no sense. But I think there's something going on here that we probably don't know about, probably going on behind closed doors as to why they wanted to not go through. And it just seems like their energy and their focus is on something that doesn't make any sense and it could be put elsewhere. But that's my takeaway from it, from actually reading the letter that they wrote from beginning to end. And that's it for me, guys. Let me know your thoughts on all of Jim Ryan's comments on games coming to PlayStation Plus, more mergers and acquisitions. Are you excited for this next WoW expansion? Do you think all of those games that were shown off in that screenshot that had deals for Activision Blizzard games are going to be coming to Game Pass right when the deal goes through? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, you like what you saw, you found it entertaining and informative, I'd appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.